As you know, SPE will be closed Thursday, November 27 and Friday, November 28th for the Thanksgiving holiday. You may leave work at 3 p.m. on Wednesday, November 26th. We hope you enjoy the holiday.
The Monday before Thanksgiving, we all came to work.
It's a movie studio, and every movie studio has their own flavor. Sony was its own community.
It was about 8:15 in the morning. Some people had turned on their computers and started working.
It's not something that you can see. You can see a person breaking into a house, but you can't necessarily see someone breaking into your computer.
When it first happened, it was surreal.
The theatrics of having every computer in the office pop something at the same time and then eat itself.
Unplug your computer from the wall. Everyone's just unplugging everything.
It wasn't just one system or one building. The network was completely chewed up by this virus.
They shut down the entire network.
This morning, Sony Pictures under attack.
A devastating hack, crippling one of the world's most powerful entertainment studios.
A group known as the Guardians of Peace claimed responsibility for the hack.
More than 3,000 computers and 800 servers were destroyed by the attackers.
That was the first time, I think, that a cyber attack really dismantled a company to the extent that it did.
Not only making the computers inoperable, but actually destroying all of the data and the backups.
And it brought the entire operation to a grinding halt.
Well, the fallout from just an epic hack of Sony Pictures is snowballing.
Very sensitive, confidential information started to appear online.
The attackers were able to exfiltrate terabytes of data from Sony, undetected.
Several unreleased films leaked online.
A cyber theft valued in the millions.
Now hacked emails are revealing Hollywood backbiting and smack talking among company executives.
When you've got funny emails between, you know, Scott Rudin and Angelina Jolie, it's like a soap opera. It was massive news.
Sony Pictures is set to be looking at whether North Korea is to blame.
The hackings could be revenge for its new movie called The Interview.
The story is no longer about Sony getting hacked. Now it's about the US versus North Korea.
This is not a Sony security problem. This is a national security problem.
A country like North Korea that doesn't have much to lose, there really isn't a big incentive to play by the rules, and being able to destroy a company wasn't really a big deal to them.
The hackers are now warning Americans to, quote, stay away from theaters.
Threatening a 9/11 style attack.
When they started threatening to blow up fucking theaters, are you kidding? I was like, what the fuck is going on now?
The coming soon posters are coming down across North America.
Sony Pictures pulled the movie, including on DVD or on demand.
They caused a lot of damage. We will respond.
It can't be worth all of this terror, this stupid little movie, can it be? There is not much in this life that I have high confidence about. I have very high confidence about this attribution.
Bikini Robot Army is my band. It's mostly just me with friends. It's basically just me. Sometimes when you are mastering music and you know, bounce number 3 versus bounce number fucking 36, it sort of drives you crazy. You need a break. And fortunately, Sony got hacked. And then I saw the screens at Sony and they had that 90s monster. It says, you've been hacked or something like that. And at the bottom of the screen, there was a URL, and it was a list of the hacked files. But it was just the names of the files, which was even more fascinating, because the names of the files amounted to 5 fucking gigs, which is huge. You know, there were no files, no attachments, just names. You know how small a text file is, right? At the very bottom of this list, it said, you know, please contact us here for further information. So I figured, why not? Let's see what happens. So I sent an email and didn't think that I would ever hear back, but I did. I am head of GOP. I appreciate you calling us. The data will soon get there. You can find what we do on the following link. I remember clicking on this link, and thinking, what the fuck is this Facebook link? Why are these hackers sending me, if they want me to like their fucking Facebook page? I get there and I'm like the third person to like the Facebook page. I was the third one. I figured everyone had done what I had done, and that I was just one of maybe 100,000 people getting these documents, until I figured out I was the only one. I'm thinking I could probably start tweeting some of the funnier bits that I found, or the more interesting things. And that's what I did.
You're looking at Twitter one day and you see a link that somebody retweeted going to a pastebin link claiming that Sony has gotten compromised. And people started downloading the torrents, and when they started looking at the torrents, they went, holy crap, no, this is actually real. Sony actually got completely steamrolled. This is gonna be a big deal.
This mega hack of Sony's computer system is seen to be unprecedented, bigger and more damaging than previously realized.
Now even messier after private emails about the A-list of the A-list were leaked.
It's hilarious, some of the stuff that's being said. And these guys, they live up to their cliches, you know?
Emails purportedly exchanged between the studio, producers, and agents
bash stars like Tom Cruise, Angelina Jolie, and Adam Sandler.
Even making racial remarks about President Obama.
There was a lot of stuff I put out there to show what was going on. I was contacted by a few suffragettes. Is that word still applicable? So they asked me to look through the documents and find anything I had on gender discrimination. And I found a bunch of stuff in the payroll section and some chatter between the executives. And I tweeted all that, and she ended up using that to go to court. I was the hub of information, dude, in the country for like a good 3 months. Me.
At the end of the first day, I get a phone call, and it's my wife, and she says, hey, the FBI just came over. And I was like, what? Yeah, we want to talk to him about some illegal downloads he's been doing. It was kind of shady. They didn't explain what they wanted or what they were doing. I think Sony went to the FBI and shouted and pointed and said, there are bad people on the internet that are stealing our movies and trading our stuff, and this is really, really, really bad. Fix it, fix it, fix it, fix it.
Sony is telling Twitter to suspend the account of one of its users who posted hacked material.
Next thing I know, there's a ding, you know, from my email account, and it's like, stop all this nonsense, young man, or we're gonna come after you. It was a scene. It was fun.
Have you lawyered up? I mean, have you got a lawyer now?
A lawyer? Are you kidding me? I'm outside smoking a cigarette on an iPad. I don't have anything.
And they started calling me the Lebowski of Twitter, which I thought was fun. I guess I came off a little stoned at the time.
My interest in the data is purely from a mechanical standpoint, because the more I know about what real attackers are doing, the more accurately I can simulate that for my customers. So I looked at the files, patterns begin to emerge. Like, they were storing passwords. Like, there was one file in the dump that was like pages and pages and pages of just plain text passwords kept in an Excel spreadsheet. Like, I almost, what's the word? Apoplectic, right? I'm apoplectic. It's like working in a bank and putting all the combinations for all the safes in the building on a piece of paper and stapled it to the wall outside the front of the bank. And then people said, what could possibly go wrong?
The malware and its ability to permeate the organization and bring down and wipe all these drives came from knowing credentials already. Probably one of the most common techniques for gaining this level of access is a spear phishing attack.
In other words, an email which is disguised to be a legitimate email.
Click on the link, comes forward with a username, password. Type it in, it doesn't work. Now the attacker has full access into the environment, and it's that simple.
Once you have a foothold within an organization, it then allows you to operate behind the firewall.
Then they'll go through and select, what they want to steal, and they'll move that out of the network.
There was so much information, so much data that was exfiltrated.
You can't exfiltrate terabytes of data in any sensible amount of time if you're being covert.
It had to happen over a long period of time. It would have taken months, maybe even years, to exfiltrate something like 100 terabytes of data.
The adversary was in the network for probably several months before the wiper was actually activated. Well, it's absolutely scary to see machines just get bricked. I mean, basically they were useless after they got done with them. You know, it really puts into perspective of how devastating this attack really was.
The attackers' goal was to hurt Sony.
The fact that it was Sony made it embarrassingly significant.
Recent CDs by Sony BMG included anti-piracy technology called XCP. If you put a CD with the XCP technology into your computer, a hidden program was automatically installed.
The technological equivalent of a peeping Tom.
They kind of always were concerned about copyright infringement over cyber espionage or cyber intrusion.
They're so fiercely protective of their revenue stream, they will go so far as to infect their paying customers with malware to make sure that their paying customers are behaving the way they would like.
Sony doesn't have a right to invade your privacy by hiding secret files on your computer.
If I were to do that and I were to get caught, I'm going to jail. That's a felony. I'm done for life. Where somehow if Sony does it, it's okay and people can walk away and they don't go to jail. Probably one of the reasons that the internet started attacking them.
Sony could lose millions after an apparent cyber attack knocked its PlayStation network offline.
We are talking about one of the largest corporate security breakdowns ever.
Sony kept getting hacked over and over and over again, and they're literally doing nothing in actual security. It's just this perpetual ugly machine.
George Hotz, an avid gamer and tech whiz, got into deep water when he hacked Sony's PlayStation 3. This put Hotz into a lawsuit with the Mega Electronics Corporation.
Yo, it's GeoHot. And for those that don't know, I'm getting sued by Sony. Let's take us out of the courtroom and into the streets.
They have pissed off so many people that they're getting attacked on a regular basis at this point.
Anonymous is currently targeting Sony's website. We are doing this because Sony is currently suing people for making features the PlayStation originally had available to the public.
We are anonymous. We are legion. We do not forgive. We do not forget. You should have expected us.
Warning, we've already warned you, and this is just a beginning with 2 G's. We will continue there's no will. We continue till our requests be met.
It was just a joke fest. The language that was used, the threats that were made, the type of emails that were released. And this is traditionally what you would see from hacktivists.
Maybe it was anonymous, maybe it's Nullsuck, maybe it's Lizard Squad. Possibility exists that it is some of those guys or different guys that have the same mindset of like, let's just do it for lulls.
It could have been a consortium of hackers that never even met each other.
I think that's actually a much more likely scenario, that multiple attackers from different nationalities with different goals lived within that very large multinational network.
This is not a new hack. Sony has been compromised for at least 6 years that I know of. Whoever hacked Sony has been inside there for a very, very long time.
The reality of the situation most likely is that Sony was in a perpetual state of breach for years.
The FBI lays the blame for the attack squarely on North Korea.
We now, can conclude quite conclusively that the deniers were wrong, that the government was right in this case.
Well, it's very rare for the U.S. government to come out and definitively provide attribution back to a particular threat actor.
The United States government has concluded that the North Korean government is responsible.
We are confident the North Korean government is responsible for this destructive attack.
The whole thing just smelled wrong.
Now, a former FBI assistant director says the agency would name North Korea as a culprit without rock-solid proof that it will not share with you and I.
The FBI is not going to expose to the public all the tools in their toolbox.
That was it. They basically said, we're the FBI, this is what we say it is, so just believe us.
We know, but we can't tell you. You're just gonna have to trust us.
I certainly don't think they would have come out with that level of certainty if they didn't have the evidence to back it up.
I don't like the idea of people just going on television and saying, we're law enforcement, trust us. Because it means they can do whatever they want and say whatever they want and just continue to say, just trust us.
Some serious folks have suggested that we have it wrong, but there's a couple things that I have urged the intelligence community to declassify that I want to tell you right now. We could see that the IP addresses that were being used to post and to send the emails were coming from IPs that were exclusively used by the North Koreans.
They do have connection points in China, in Russia, in Germany. So it doesn't mean that outsiders can't get access to and operate from North Korea's IP space.
The malware was written in Korean, and also the code is virtually identical to the code that was used to attack South Korean businesses.
Oh, I saw some malware in South Korea, and now I see the same malware in Sony. That's cool. I mean, I see BMWs driving all over the place, right? It doesn't mean that they were, it's the same driver. This is purchasable stuff. Like, you can buy these on the internet. Malware is so prevalent now, it has a help desk you can call.
Analysts say the North Koreans have a dedicated hacking capability that they've been working on for a few years. Bureau 121 and a larger cyber branch called the Reconnaissance General Bureau.
Most of the information that the NSA gets about North Korea comes from South Korea. And South Korea has a questionable approach of collecting intelligence on North Korea. They pay for it. In order to get a decent paycheck for your defection, you have to supply valuable intelligence to the South. And at least some cases that have been documented, that intelligence is fabricated in order to get a bigger check.
We are preparing for you a Christmas gift. The gift will surely give you much more pleasure and put Sony Pictures into the worst state.
The emails changed. The tone, the syntax, capitalization, the grammar, everything changed to fall in line with that exact theory, that idea that this was North Koreans. I mean, who fucking types with a fake accent? I mean, really? Seriously, who does that? Nobody. The very first one that mentioned anything about a hack or stolen data was, give us money or we will hack you. There was no mention of anything political, nothing about the interview, and there was none of this bullshit. How bitter fate those who seek fun in terror should be doomed to. It's almost Shakespearean, right?
Within a few days of the Sony attack, the White House cybersecurity director called a meeting of the National Security Council and did a poll. Who do you think was responsible? So everybody said North Korea, but with differing levels of certainty. So her response to that was, okay, if we believe it was North Korea, now we need to find the proof. Every intelligence failure ever has been blamed on precisely that kind of cognitive bias. Who do you think did it? Now find the proof.
And we can confirm that North Korea engaged in this attack.
It was North Korea behind the cyber attack against Sony.
Let me tell you, North Korea, more people will see this film because of what you did.
My country has nothing to do with the Sony hacking.
We cannot be told we can't see something by Kim Jong-un of all bleep people.
We cannot have a society in which some dictator someplace can start imposing censorship here in the United States.
All the people that were conducting their own investigations to figure out who he actually was were basically told to stop.
It didn't matter who I talked to. It didn't matter which agency I talked to. It was a campaign against North Korea.
The other alternative is that nobody knows who did it, and somebody said, just say North Korea did it, and nobody can dispute it because nobody can see into North Korea.
It's very beneficial for you if somebody out there with authority says that it was a highly skilled, highly motivated, uber exotically elite team, because then how could we have possibly prevented the attack? That's a much more palatable explanation than you left the front door open.
Well, what's important to realize is there's no 100% around attribution or intelligence in general. There's just different confidence levels.
Nobody really knows what happens. Everybody's throwing darts. Everyone wants to be right. It just turns into a shit show.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter other than that it happened and it could happen again.
Attribution is just meaningless from a defense point of view.
If you're walking down the street and somebody picks your wallet and runs away with it, I mean, ultimately, at the end of the day, do you care more about getting your wallet back or knowing who actually pulled your wallet? Knowing that it was, Jane Smith that pulled my wallet really doesn't help me prevent it from happening again.
What's important to keep in mind is that corporations need to protect themselves. So companies need to understand that they're on their own. They need to provide their own methods to prevent this wide-scale destruction.
And that's a real lesson here. Everyone's vulnerable. Tighten up your security.
I think we get caught up in the puzzle and solving the who did it puzzle.
Human nature is always that they want to know.
It makes it hard for people to really understand the finality of what happened here. Was it really North Korea? Was it not? We're never going to know.
As the release of the interview has came already in some theaters, we will say we may be not North Korea after all this. Maybe we are working Americans and maybe we are not, but it is not 100% that we are who you think we are. We have fooled you again.
It's the end of the world tonight. Won't you come on over and spend the night? Well, it's the end of the